Yeah. What's good, y'all? What's the happy haps? How y'all doing today? Today, we're doing something special. Something special with Vexxy. How you doing, honey?
Hey, I'm good. Can you hear me? I mean,
I,
I don't know if my new microphone works.
I can hear you. I mean, you're kind of low, but I can hear you.
Okay, all right, we can change the levels. We can make that work. All right, no, yeah.
So today's special because me and Vexy are getting back onto Zack Morris's trash.
Yeah. Zack Morris is trash. Yeah. How do I turn up the how do I turn up the volume on this? Oh, it says
is it
automatically
me?
adjust. Let's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I figured it. Sorry, I haven't done this in so long. Is that better or is that too loud?
No, that's perfect. Perfect.
Great. Excellent. Cool.
Sweet. All right. The last time we were on this, we finished the first season. For some reason, they took the seasons off and they just like posted all the videos at once. So I
Oh
had to
wow.
go back and rewatch the old stream to see where we left off, and then I made a playlist. There's 40 videos left. I don't know how long you can stay to watch, but
I could
you
probably do
can.
an hour or so today.
All right, perfect. Well, yeah, I mean, most of the episodes are only like 5, 6
Yeah.
minutes long, so it's
Yeah.
not as bad. But yeah, so we're gonna start. God damn it! So we're gonna start off with the time Zack Morris forced a teacher to strike to go skiing. I don't know why. It's funny. Oh my god! All right, let's just start it.
Zack Morris is trash. Lisa and Screech are studying for the academic bowl. Zack interrupts to announce his brilliant plan to skip school Friday and go skiing with Slater. Screech wants to come. Zack says he can carry his skis. But when Lisa asks how Zack plans to skip school, this blonde mastermind has no damn clue. Screech says teacher contract negotiations are happening, and a speed bump could lead to a strike. Zack calls him a big dork and steals his idea. Mr. Belding's wrapping up negotiations with Mr. Tuttle, and Zack asks if he can do a quick interview about the academic bowl for the school paper, then reveals his ruse out loud.
And we'll turn those comments into a teacher's strike.
In front of the one person on Earth who shouldn't hear it. Zack gives loaded questions side's opponents, designed to evoke nasty fighting words from Belding. The gang's ball prepping. Zack barges in to put an end to their learning. He asks Mr. Tuttle for a quote to use in an article about the negotiations. But first, they need to cue the tape past Belding's quote, then accidentally play a heavily doctored edit of Zack asking about the teachers, spliced with Belding's now recontextualized disparaging remarks. Zack's audio fraud works, and the teachers go on strike. Now his peers are missing a day of education, and the teachers are losing a paycheck. Zack pats himself on the back. Jesse asks how skiing was. Zack says it looked fun, but he didn't even go outside because snow would be so cold. They ask where Screech is. Zack says he's where he's supposed to be, carrying the heavy shit he didn't use. He collapses, hits his head, and everyone but Zack gets up to help. On the trip, but isn't it stop him from practicing for the bowl? Goes to resolving their non-existent issues and decides to intervene before they can resume educating kids for barely enough pay to survive. Mr. Tuttle leaves Belding's office, once again on good terms, and Zack stops him to say even though they got improved pay and hours, they should be asking for respect. He says until they get a break room and better parking spots, it's clear as day no one respects them. Mr. Tuttle marches back and says he'll see Belding on the picket line. Zack gloats about his strike. Belding says the strike means no class and no academic goal. Zack's friends, who have sacrificed to train for the bowl, reprimand him for his careless actions. And Screech, who has so little to live for, breaks down in tears. Zack crashes a tense meeting about the strike he manufactured and announces he'll read these solutions Belding asked him to type up. Wink, wink. Belding agrees to let the teachers use his office as a lounge. Belding will give up his parking spot so the teachers are all one space closer. Belding will use his annual bonus to pay for the faculty Christmas party. The teachers accept Zack's terms that do nothing to significantly improve their lives and all come at a great expense to Principal Belding he never agreed to. Meanwhile, the cold Screech got on the ski trip, a turn for the worse, and hospitalizes him. The gang considers forfeiting, a notion Zack rejects as he can't perfect good strike for this dumb bowl. The Valley team shows up And Zack, unable to handle being taunted by nerds, says he's going to join the team just so he can kick their nerdy asses. Zack disturbs his friend in the hospital while he's trying to recover from the illness he caused and demands he teaches him everything he knows.
Wow.
Screech is drifting in and out of consciousness, desperately clinging to life, but manages to eke out one single piece of knowledge, an acronym for remembering the order of the planet.
Vimschnup.
Lisa says
Vimschnup.
his delirious state was switching
Yeah.
battles. They'd be so confused, they'd lose. Zack ignores his dying friend and gets a great idea.
So
Zack sends
stupid.
Slater
I
to meet
remember
with Val
this.
to say he's bitter his friends picked Zack over him for the team, and he has damaging intel he wants to share. It's your classic reverse double agent revenge misinformation scheme to cheat at competitive learning. Slater says Screech taught Zack everything he knows, and on top of that, Zack's specialty is football. So study up on only that one sport. The bowl is not going great, but Bayside's hanging in there. No thanks to Zack, who only answered one question and got it wrong. Bayside picks the final category, and Zack chooses basketball. And because the nerds were lied to about only studying football, they blow it. Zack even showboats, preventing his teammates from buzzing in, so these manipulated nerds can publicly humiliate themselves. It's all tied up, and the final question is to list the planets in order, the only thing Screech taught Zack. And Zack squeezes it out of his tiny brain, just barely. Then tells Belding he's having the after party in his office, and he's going to wreck the place. Let's review. Zack Morris used fraudulent audio to anger teachers into striking without pay, just so he could go skiing, then didn't even go skiing, but still made his best friend carry all his heavy gear, causing him to get sick. Then preyed on teacher insecurities to keep school closed. And when faced with losing his few remaining allies, lied again to the teachers at someone else's physical and financial expense. And after sending his friend to the hospital, only visited him to harass him for knowledge to defeat some nerds. Then used elaborate subterfuge to cheat at competitive learning, and still only won because of a hospital room information shakedown. Zack Morris is trash.
Zack Morris is trash.
Oh my god. Holy shit.
You know what's funny? The other day, I literally told my kids about Vimschnup.
Vishnup? Oh, that's
That's fun. I was like, that's crazy that this showed up today because I literally just referenced this episode of my real life.
Oh,
That's crazy.
Oh, good thing you're teaching your kids young.
I'm trying my best.
Well, the next video, as you can see, is going to be the time Zack Morris orchestrated a car accident that almost killed his girlfriend.
Oh,
What is up with the
this,
show
yeah.
and car wrecks? Like
I think it's because it's probably the set. They could just like get away with it quickly.
Probably.
I mean, for filming, didn't we watch one time where they like took apart the car or something?
There was one where they took apart the car. There was one
Yeah.
where Zack got drunk and crashed the car. Oh, no, that was that same episode. And then, damn, there was. Oh, the other one was when they went to take a picture of Lisa Turtle when she was with somebody's boyfriend in Belding's car.
Yes, and that's the one that
Yeah, there was a lot
Damn,
of
they
car
did
ones.
use a lot of cars. All right, okay.
That started up.
Zack Morris is trash.
Zack is feeling great. Driver's ed starts today, which is the first step in his plan to drive girls far away, park, and demand a handjob for a ride home. Zack begins his campaign for parked car hostage tech by giving Kelly a ring. She says they just started dating, and she's not ready to be his girlfriend. Zack has no respect for her well-defined boundaries and says, relax, it's a friendship ring. Kelly asks if there's anything she can do for her friend. Zack suggests sexual favors. Mr. Tuttle says a car is a responsibility and a privilege. Two concepts Zack has no time for. Mr. Tuttle pop quizzes on the correct driving hand position. Zack says one hand on the wheel, the other groping your passenger. Slater answers correctly, hands at 10 and 2, so you have control of your car. Zack makes fun of his ability to drive safely without assaulting anyone. Kelly says Zack needs to take driver's ed seriously. He ignores her and displays the cheap ring he bought so every guy can see he owns her. Zack wants to know why his friends are sad, mistaking homework for depression. They say they don't have money for cars. Zack says he'll be driving his dad's Porsche when he turns 16, a very sad thing to lie about. Slater says he just bought a car. Zack, that ring, he could have bought a car. Another bummer of a lie. Slater shows the gang his car and says it needs a little work. Zack jumps for joy because work and misfortune are synonymous to him, and says even the doctors who worked on Michael Jackson couldn't fix this car.
damn.
A bad joke that makes no sense for a variety of reasons. The gang minus Zack chips in, and the car looks great. Zack, who sees the world like an infant, says he won't be 16 for months, so who cares, because nobody can drive until then. Slater says he turns 16 next week. Zack decides to be the only teenager in history to actively prevent a friend with a car from getting their license. Zack says he's ready to take class seriously, unlike some people, cough, cough, Slater. Tuttle says Slater's his best student, and Zack says that's the thing. He's so good, he's been telling people he should teach the class. Now Zack has a paranoid teacher squashing a student's passion to learn, with the goal of depriving his friends and himself of happiness. Mr. Tuttle gives Slater a challenge, and he nails it. And Zack envisions a nightmare where Kelly and Slater are happily dating. But they're still discussing Zack, because this child can't picture a reality where he's not the center of attention and 6 feet away at all times. Zack offers Slater $20 for a private lesson, then tells Screech to impersonate Mr. Tuttle and request Belding get the keys he left in the driver's ed car. After Screech stalls for exactly 5 minutes, Zack goes to steal a car and leaves his friend alone on a bathroom floor to commit countdown timer identity theft. Zack spastically pulls the stolen car around. Slater says they could get in big trouble driving in the halls. Zack says his $20 deserves a hallway lesson. And he could learn better if Slater was driving and he was outside the car entirely. The best way to learn how to drive a car. Kelly's on her way to practice. Slater graciously offers a ride. Zack commands his woman to get back. Zack, fearful Kelly will get caught in his hot ride,
and he
thereby
hits her head
delaying
or
his parked
something.
car tugger, screams at the top of his lungs. Slater, distracted by Zack's shrill outbursts, crashes the car into lockers.
Damn.
Zack ignores Kelly's head wound and berates Slater.
Yeah.
Then, hearing Belding coming on cue, flees the scene of the accident he orchestrated.
Yo, this
Mr.
is
Belding
wild.
announces whoever's responsible has until tomorrow to fess up. Kelly blames herself because she accepted a ride knowing Zack's a jealous bitch. And Zack got jealous like a bitch, then cried like a bitch, and that's why they crashed. Zack is ready to apologize,
Like a
but
bitch.
Kelly, who just suffered head trauma, says it wasn't his fault. That's all Zack needs to hear to feel he's off the hook. Zack tells Slater he's fully to blame because he was driving. Zack says if he was at fault, he'd be man enough to turn himself in. Because the saddest lies are the ones we tell ourselves. Slater wonders how Belding was right there. Screech blabs he was on the phone because Zack was keeping him on the phone after planting info that the driver's ed keys were left unattended. They decide to teach Zack a lesson before he attempts more vehicular manslaughter. Zack wants to know where his woman is. They say Kelly went home because her head hurt. Zack, not a doctor, says she's fine. Kelly pretends like she doesn't remember Zack and finally gets to remove that tacky ring. But when
Nice.
Kelly says she remembers Slater is her boyfriend, that's too far, and Zack confesses. Unwilling to give up a brain-damaged human he understands to be his property. Mr. Belding comes to class for a confession. Zack says it's fine, because Belding will say if nobody confessed, he's disappointed but can't get anyone in trouble. Only that doesn't happen, because that's not how trouble works. Belding says everyone is now flunking, and they'll have to repeat driver's ed next year. Kelly, angel that she is, says it isn't fair for everyone to suffer, and she'll take the heat. Slater, a gentleman, says he drove the car, so he'll take the rap. And with Belding almost out the door, Zack says it was his fault, and he sets Slater up to get caught in the stolen car. But only comes clean because it was his last shot of maybe, eventually, securing that parked car handy. Let's
my
review.
God.
Zack Morris used jewelry to pressure a girl into a relationship she didn't want. Ignored vital lessons about driving safely. And when the first person in his group of friends was about to get their license, planted seeds of mistrust with his instructor, then used payoffs, lies, and identity theft to manipulate him into driving stolen school property with the intent to get him busted. Then distracted him while he was operating a moving vehicle, causing an accident that resulted in a head injury. And only confessed after his wounded girlfriend pretended to have the kind of brain damage that would negate their spurious union. Then let two victims take the blame for their accident he caused and only accepted defeat as a last-ditch effort to get the theoretical car sex he felt entatled to. Zack Morris is trash.
Zack Morris is trash.
Man.
What is wrong with this
Zack-
dude? Oh, the things he comes up with is just insane.
You know, the more I watch this as an adult, even these little clips, I think, like, who wrote this show? Because it's so, like you said, manipulative.
Yeah,
You know?
somebody
like,
definitely had
was it-
some like mental problems writing this.
For real. I'm like, damn. Anyway, you know.
This is what we got.
It's
DJ
Saved by the, so we grew
Internet-
up with.
What do we grew up with? Saved by the Bell. What was the other ones? Fucking.
Well, it depends on our age group, really. Saved by the Bell.
Oh, yeah.
I liked California Dreams, but that was a little later.
California Dreams. That's the one I was trying to remember. Yeah.
I wish I could find that streaming. I love that one. But yeah,
No,
it was the
that
same
one-
people that
one's,
made
like,
it.
Lost. Yeah, that
It's
one was
lost.
like lost media. I mean, you could probably find it on like Amazon or something like that, but I don't think
Oh.
any streaming services have it.
Dang, I'm thinking like now or bootleg or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The time Zack Morris narked on a friendly movie star for smoking weed.
Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. I'm
I
excited.
think I remember
Morris
this
is
one.
trash.
Lisa says famous actor Johnny Dakota is coming to Bayside. Zack tells her to relax before she cracks her makeup, then laughs at his own joke. Zack mistakenly thinks Johnny is dying to meet him. Johnny politely looks past Zach's hubris and asks where the principal's office is. Zach offers no assistance. Jesse says it's that way, and Zach makes more unwanted contact and close talking with this rich stranger. Zach escorts Johnny 12 feet down the hall and introduces Principal Belding to his new best friend. Johnny ignores how gross Zach is being and says he wants to tape an anti-drug PSA in a high school and they're considering Bayside. Zach realizes he can exploit his proximity to a movie star for access to babes. Johnny's undecided after a tour, but Zach prepared a little something to help make up his mind.
Here we go. We're Bayside students and we're no fools. We don't do that, it's just not cool.
Yikes. Johnny lies and says that was great to make sure they never do Zach's rap ever again. Kelly's got Johnny Dakota fever. Zach says they're best buds and he's happy to make the intro. Zach presents her as an offering to entice Johnny to film there, and it works because she's Kelly goddamn Kapowski. And while Johnny is showing Kelly the attention she deserves, Zach is skipping class to sell stolen doorknobs Johnny touched and stolen sunglasses Johnny wore.
Wow.
Mr. Belding busts Zach's hallway hustle. Johnny, in a very chill move, tells Belding he gave Zach permission to sell this stuff as long as he donates the proceeds to an anti-drug charity. Johnny gives Zach the clothes off his back to see how much money he can raise. Zach says he's keeping this fly purple shit for himself. Zach notices it smells like pot in the bathroom and finds a roach on the floor. He says if Johnny discovers there's a stony baloney ganja fiend in their midst, it could blow his plan to meet babes. Johnny walks in and Zach swears he doesn't do this stuff. Johnny says he'd love to have an authentic narc in his ad and gets rid of the devil's lettuce with a very cool kick flush reverse spin to double finger gun maneuver.
Nice.
Johnny asks a room full of teens what they think about drugs. Jesse mentions the time she got hooked on caffeine pills because of Zach. Scud goes to pick up his girlfriend, but he's early, so he says he's going to the bathroom. The same bathroom where the fellas saw him when they found that roach. Narc Morris announces,
I think we
Narc
found our
Morris.
pothead.
Sheriff Zach and his deputies find Scud smoking a cigarette. Zach illegally detains and interrogates a clearly innocent student, then insults his intelligence just to feel like a big man. Meanwhile, Kelly is starting a happy new life with Johnny. He's a solid guy, meeting her friends and letting them know about his good intentions to one day hopefully marry her. Zach interrupts to ask Johnny to sign a headshot he can use to bribe Belding. Johnny invites the gang to a party
Not
at his
gonna lie,
house,
that jack-
and Zach
that's why,
finally gains
that purple
access to
jacket
the
is
babes
why.
he sensed to be nearby. Two groupies test Johnny's love for Kelly. He politely says hello, then alley-oops them to his new co-star,
Alley-oop.
Zach. What a G. Slater wants Zach to introduce him to his new friends. Zach learns nothing from Johnny's playbook of being a G and says Slater is his driver, then tells him to shoot. Johnny lets
Damn.
Screech borrow his clothes after he had a spill, and Johnny's threads are helping Screech meet a lady. It's like Johnny has homie superpowers. Screech falls off the couch and needs urgent assistance for his back, which is in bad shape after years of carrying out Zach's schemes. Slater, Jesse,
Damn.
and Lisa all volunteer to leave the party and help. Zach says he'll throw him in a car, but he's coming right back to rage. Johnny is smooching Kelly, living the dream, when a friend hands him a joint. Johnny hits that shit one time, then passes it on the left-hand side to Kelly. Kelly's thinking of trying this scary stuff that makes you giggle when Zach returns. He wants to know what the hell is going on here. Johnny kindly offers Zach some ooh-wee. Zach shames him for smoking doge in his home during a party, then tells Kelly they're leaving this den of sin. Johnny shows up the next day, on time and camera
Den of
ready to
sin.
shoot the PSA. Total pro, and holds no ill will about Zach disrespecting him in his home. Zach says he ad, and Johnny tells him to relax, because it's just that sticky green ill shit. He tries to make peace,
Word.
and Zach, who has been touching him way too much since he arrived, slaps his hand away, then says he was wrong, thinking Johnny's cool, which could not be further from the truth, and that he's not Johnny's friend, which has been true this whole time, a fact he neglected to acknowledge when he was using his celebrity to sell
he
doorknobs
gonna
just
give it a
one
fly
day
jacket.
ago. Zach narks to his friends about Johnny and stages a walkout with a full crew ready to roll. Then Zach narks to Belding, and Belding narks to this guy.
Hi, I'm Brandon
damn.
Tartikoff, chairman of NBC Entertainment.
Turns out Belding knows the
Oh, of
chairman of
course.
NBC, and when he's not greenlighting shows about a blonde sociopath terrorizing a high school, he likes to appear in bad PSAs that lie to children about marijuana with words that could better describe Zach.
Dumb,
Stupid.
crazy, dangerous.
Stinks.
Zach gives himself more lines than any of his friends, crowning himself new Johnny.
New
Let's
Johnny.
review. Zack Morris aggressively
that
forced
shit.
his friendship on a movie star looking to do charity work, schemed to use his celebrity to meet women, and when he couldn't win him over with this hip-hop abomination, offered up his ex-girlfriend like a prize,
Damn.
then turned around and stole property from Johnny and the school for financial gain. And even though Johnny was being way cooler than he needed to be at every imaginable opportunity,
Facts.
even welcoming everyone into his home, Zach shames him for taking one hit off a joint at a party in the Hollywood Hills, then rejects the friendship he fabricated, and narked on his now ex-friend to anyone with ears, then shot a new commercial where he made himself the star. Zack Morris is trash.
Zack
Damn.
Morris is trash.
Damn, that breakdown was bad.
That was. But I mean, oh, damn.
He really just, first of all, narking on a movie star about weed. You know that dude probably got, his all career got fucked up and shit. And then he took over it just because he was smooching his girl. Man, he's such
I
a character.
know.
And first of all, let's be straight. The fact that they talk about weed like it's like crack cocaine is insane.
I agree with that.
Or meth.
A different time. Yeah, like it's meth or something. Like, oh my god, That's
If I
why.
smoke it, I'm gonna go kill somebody. Like it's
Exactly.
insane that people thought that. Oh my god. All right. Oh, I remember this one. The time Zack Morris fat shamed a girl who won him at a charity auction.
Oh, I love this one. I don't know why. Just memories, I guess. But yes, I remember this one too. Her name was Wendy, I think. Let's see if I'm right.
Yeah, let's see.
Zack Morris is trash.
Kelly tells student council the cheerleaders need $600 for new uniforms. Zach suggests $200 and forcing them to wear bikinis.
Of
Wendy
course.
courtesy laughs at Zach's misogyny. Mr. Belding says there isn't enough money for new uniforms. Maybe next year. Jesse asks if there are any more motions. Zach says, let's see those cheerleaders in motion. Wendy once again humors Zach to
Wendy!
appease his prideful ego. Kelly
you were
says
right.
they
watched
hate
it.
us.
Yeah, you were right.
Jesse says that's sexist flesh peddling, which sounds great to Zach.
I just
who
watched this a
immediately
lot
calls
as a
for vote.
kid.
It gets passed by a room full of 15. Zach tells Linda she has a beautiful name, then asks who
I
she's
used to
bidding on.
watch it
She
in the
tells
morning
Zach
before
her
work.
name is Lydia. He
Mhm.
says that name is beautiful, way prettier than that Linda junk. Lydia says she hasn't made any decisions about the auction, and Zach volunteers to coach her. Kelly, trying to do her job, goes to take their order. Zach says she can beat it unless there's a date with Lydia on that menu, which isn't the case because this isn't a brothel. The date auction is going great.
What?
Zach's up, and this nice young lady he's been brainwashing for days to pay cash to get fingered bid $75. Going
Damn.
once, going twice. Wendy out of nowhere with 100 smackers.
Damn.
Zach's face goes through all 7 stages of grief. Then he has to be forcibly pushed off the stage. Wendy greets Zach at the Max to talk about the dance. She drags him to her table and says she's so excited she hasn't been able to eat. Then jokingly says that's probably a good thing for her. Zach winces in disgust and points at her body to agree he thinks she's fat. Zach says he can't possibly have lunch today and tries to make a hasty exit, then fakes a back injury and says he needs to go to the hospital right away. Wendy asks if there's anything she can do. Zach tells her to pray to God for his well-being. Wendy sees Zach in the hall and checks in on his medical status. Zach grabs his neck, then remembers he's supposed to grab his back, and tells her his team of doctors think with the right combo of
my back.
acupuncture needle
My
therapy,
neck and my
deep
back.
tissue massage, and vitamin B shots, he might be able to live a normal life one day. But of course, he won't be able to dance. Wendy says she called his house because she cares, and his mom said he was out surfing. Zach continues to lie, mistaking being large for being stupid, and says he was body surfing, a cover-up that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Wendy sees through his nonsense. She knows he's lying, so he doesn't have to go to the dance with her, because she doesn't look like Lydia, or Kelly, or any of the other several dozen girls he's hoping to finger before graduation. She says she'll have more fun going to the dance by herself, and tells this boy, bye. Screech won Jesse in the auction, and he's driving her nanners. She's considering ways to escape, but Zach says she made a commitment and needs to stick to it. Jesse realizes she sounds awful, and Zach, with zero self-awareness, says she sure does. Jesse
Damn.
says she knows Wendy isn't Zach's type, so if he can give her a chance, she can give Screech a chance. Zach remembers that Wendy person from 3 minutes ago exists. Zach's at the dance alone, getting called a loser by a bunch of nerds. He approaches Wendy to ask where she's been. She says at home, where she lives. Fucking duh. Zach says he's sorry for being a fat-shaming monster, but he'd like to dance. Wendy's cool about it, but wants to know what changed. Zach says it's because he feels guilty for dumping her over her weight. Wendy says that's some real bullshit, and she wants no part of Zach's pity date. And she'd rather hang by the finger foods. 2 words that describe how Zach thought this night would end. Zach retreats to Nerd Mountain and is grossed out when one touches him. The dance is going fine, I guess. Who cares? Wendy applauds Kelly wearing the new uniform she paid for, proving she's the bigger person in the only way that matters. Belding announces this is the last dance, then... okay. Zach approaches her in the final seconds of the dance and says after embarrassing her and rejecting her and shaming her and ignoring her, he's finally ready to be seen in public with her for 2 minutes, tops. And when Lydia tries to cut in, still inculcated from Zach's coaching, he tells her to be gone. But if she wants,
Inculcated.
she can look at him and Wendy eating together later at the Max, because he assumes Wendy is hungry, and he knows this will make Lydia jealous and more susceptible to his advances at a future time of his convenience.
Damn.
Only we never see Zach and Wendy at the Max. In fact, we never see Wendy or Lydia ever again, because they both probably fucking kill themselves. Let's review. Zack Morris said female student athlete in need of new uniforms could wear bikinis and dance for him, then pushed a charity date auction through student legislation on the grounds it would be a meat market. And after trying to rig that meat market in his favor with his selection of meat, was won by the only girl in school nice enough to laugh at his horrible jokes about women. then visibly wore his disgust over her weight for the whole school to see, and faked a back injury to get out of being seen with her in public, then told her to pray to God.
Oh my
Covered, and
God.
continued to lie to her face even after he was caught, then offered to pity dance with her just to relieve his guilt, and only managed to believably pretend to want to dance with less than one song left in the evening, then tried to make everything right by feeding her to make a skinnier girl jealous. Zack Morris is trash.
It's trash.
Zack Morris is trash.
Damn, that's so trashy, man. Holy shit. I forgot how that story went.
Dude. But every episode is like this. That's crazy. When you're young, you don't realize it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's so bad. And I knew one of these videos we're gonna have because they probably fucking killed themselves.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that one. Oh my god. All right. The next one is going to be.
Zack Morris.
Oh no. Time Zack Morris used slave labor to sell friendship
Oh.
bracelets.
Okay. I vaguely remember this, so I'm here for it. All right, cool.
I don't remember this at all, so it's going to be bad for me.
Is trash.
The gang has to start a business for a class project. Zack tried coming up with one, but all that thinking hurt his head. Lisa made friendship bracelets in Fashion Club for her pals. Jesse's about to confess they don't have diddly when Zack decides to pull a morning lie out of his ass. He says they're selling handmade friendship bracelets, and Tuttle buys it. Screech says Lisa can make 19 bracelets a day, but she won't have time to sleep. Zack's fine with that if it means he'll be rich. Zack has a painfully
damn.
unimaginative fantasy where he buys the school and works out of the former principal's office, surrounded by fake magazines featuring his face and shoes adorned with dollar signs. He's the 5th richest man in the world. Correction.
4th. I just bought Bill Cosby.
To learn a thing or two. Slater is his handyman and speaks with an ambiguously ethnic accent.
Your ring boss.
Lisa does all his manual labor and
Damn.
never sleeps. Jesse has a respect for her because she's white, but is really
Jesse.
just a glorified secretary because she's a woman. Belding's his chauffeur because Zack is petty, and Kelly is his vapid gold-digging trophy wife because that's his idea of a dream marriage. The gang is fired up about the bracelets. Lisa says Fashion Club can make 60 a day, 80 if they pay them. Zack says 60 is fine, just fine. Zack says they need a business name. Slater suggests Friendship Forever because there's nothing ominous about that. Next order of business, who will be vice president? Jesse nominates Zack. Zack is outraged because he assumed it's a given he'd be president. Slater says they agreed Jesse would be their leader. Zack says that was yesterday when she was going to take the heat for not having a project. Before they had $1 million idea with this impossible to patent product anyone can make. Plus, a president needs to be ruthless, not like Jesse's snowflake Spano. Jesse's upset over Zack's bogus justification for unilaterally booting her and says she's starting her own company with Slater and Kelly. Zack scoffs at her professional naivety, then warns he will crush them. Zack taunts Slater in the halls and says if they beg him, he might let them back in on this lucrative business of selling $5 bracelets one at a time. Zack announces they've made $120 so far, and it's all profit because they're using slave labor. Jesse made a video to introduce their new product to the market. It features a despondent emo Slater, whose miserable world gets totally rocked by buddy bands. Hell yeah. These buddy bands look amazing. Way cooler than Zack's dumb bracelets that will not help you dance with babes. Plus, they're only $3.95. Zack complains that this product is too similar to his sweatshop jewelry. Jesse says they're totally different because his shit sucks and buddy bands rule. Mr. Tuttle concurs. Zack's whining about his failing business to a waiter who also does magic tricks. Because you should definitely take life advice from a guy simultaneously failing at 2 careers. Waiter Copperfield suggests offering a premium to their client. Screech says like a free friend with every bracelet. This gives Zack a great idea. Zack doubles down on his slavery business model by sending Screech out as a personal friend for an hour with every bracelet purchase. Screech is exhausted from being a homie hooker. Zack tells Lisa to rest up because tomorrow she's the friend on the menu. And there are plenty of shady guys who will line up to buy her and also get a bracelet. Lisa and Screech make their long overdue exit from this horror show and join Jesse's team. And it's all smiles at buddy bands. And Jesse is going to actually pay the Fashion Club laborers. Imagine that. Zack squanders his final dollars on a giant out-of-business sign. He tries to make his friends feel guilty for succeeding, then buys a buddy band. And with their competition eliminated, Jesse orders more product to meet the market's demand, because she's been paying attention in class. Zack gifts Belding the buddy band. He says he considers him a true friend, and seeing him wear it would mean so much. And with Belding wearing a buddy band, thinking Zack actually cares about it, Zack goes to work, affecting his industrial espionage. He says he wouldn't be caught dead with a buddy band now that Belding's wearing one, causing a school-wide demand for refunds and rendering all of Jesse's new product worthless. bracelets. Zack goes to the max to throw himself a pouting party, but when the waiter tries to take his order, he says he doesn't want anything. He just wants to sit there, taking up valuable real estate, further driving home the fact that he does not understand how businesses work. The waiter delivers the message that Mr. Mobypants over there wants to be friends, but isn't man enough to own his mistakes. The gang forgives Zack for his maniacally vindictive behavior over a class project to sell bracelets. Jesse's understandably concerned they're all going to fail, but Zack has a plan to lie his ass off for a passing grade. He connected 2 buddy bands with a friendship bracelet and says they're selling love cuffs now, a novelty S&M product he's claiming to be a friendship item. But because this new invention is terrible and nobody would ever buy it, Zack gave away all their remaining inventory for free to the nerds to make one last bad business decision for the road. Zack says the real lesson they learned was about friendship. Because he knows Mr. Tuttle will eat that corny shit up and give them all an Let's review. Zack Morris showed up unprepared for a class project, then turned a gift from a friend into a business. And based on a racist, sexist daydream about being filthy rich, molded that business into a ruthless machine run on slave labor and ousted a woman to put himself in charge. And when he was beat in the market by a superior, more affordable product with better advertising, turned his friend into a servant thanks to guidance from a woman who does magic. And when his friends all had enough and started working together successfully without him, sabotaged their thriving business by manipulating the emotions of a public school educator, then guilted them into taking him back, and pulled at the heartstrings of another teacher to get a passing grade despite his limitless professional incompetence. Zack Morris is trash.
Holy
Zack
fuck.
Morris is trash.
Oh my god.
You know, I gotta be honest, like,
Damn.
you know, this commentary, it gives it a whole new spin. It's awesome.
Oh, it
It's so
does.
funny. You know?
He hits
Yeah.
the mark every time.
He does. Yeah, it's good.
And it just shows how bad he actually is.
Is, exactly. I agree. Yeah. That's wild.
Especially when he said the S&M cuffs. That was
That killed me. You know, I laughed. I was like,
wild.
oh, that's so funny.
It's such a terrible thing, but it's so funny. We were this is why we have the mentality and the humor we have, because we had to watch this shit.
We
when
watched
were
this
younger.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Like every day I'd go home after school to my grandma's house when I was younger, before I was like in high school. And she'd let me watch the TV. She'd read her book or something, you know. But it was always 2 hours of Saved by the Bell, like every day.
Zack
So I've seen a lot of them.
Morris is
Yeah.
trash.
Sorry, I was trying to.
No, you're good.
Zack
No, that's all.
Morris is trash.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, most of the ones I seen were. I didn't really watch Saved by the Bell until like my high school year.
Mm.
So like, when I really watched it, it was either like really early in the morning on TBS, or at night when they had all those late night shows.
It was definitely on TBS.
Yeah, they milked this shit out of that show on that channel.
They sure did. They sure damn did. And they even played the college years. Anyway, we can continue. I just they played all of that.
Oh, ooh, okay. The time Zack
What's
Morris
this one?
tricked his friends into joining the army, then abandoned them.
Oh, okay.
Yikes.
Screech says he has his eyes on a young lady. Zack laughs out loud. Screech makes a move, but when her menacing boyfriend arrives, he hides.
Damn.
Zack wants Screech to tell him all about that humiliating thing he just saw happen, then slams a door in his face. Belding has great news.
Madonna's the new school nurse?
Spoken like a virgin. Bayside is hosting the California Cadet Corps. Lieutenant Adams says it requires discipline and hard work. Zack says, hard pass. Belding wants to know who's in, and Slater says, sign me up. Zack needlessly announces he's out, then laughs at his own dumb ass for the second time in 2 minutes. Belding is done with Zack's assholery and says he's earned 30 Saturdays of detention. Zack whines like a child about his long overdue punishment. Belding says he'll let Zack off the hook to stop the whining if he joins the Corps. But because they need a full class, Zack has to recruit peers. Zack's delighted to dupe Rubes into joining the army to avoid the consequences of his behavior. Zack
Wow.
tells 2 nerds the army serves cake at every meal. Then Zack tells the guy who's been threatening his friend,
If you join the Corps, you can beat up anybody you want, not get in trouble.
then provokes Jesse by saying women don't belong in the army, then reminds Kelly that her
Ooh.
family has 7 kids and is poor, and an army scholarship could be her one
Damn.
chance at college, then exploits Lisa's sexual attraction to the lieutenant. But he needs one more sucker. Bingo. Screech strikes out again, and Zack says the only way he can get a girl is by being a real man in the army. Zack paints Screech a fantasy where he becomes a decorated officer who can throw dudes into outer space and gets babe smooches. The gang is nervous, but Zack tells them to relax because it's just the army. Lieutenant Adams is doing his army thing, yelling and such. Zack tells him to chill. The lieutenant tells Zack to drop and give him 20. Zack cracks a dumb joke. Lieutenant says, make it 50. Zack continues to goof, thinking that will decrease his number of push-ups. The lieutenant says, make it 100. Zack considers ways he can maybe bribe this guy. Zack shows up the next day in his quitting uniform, but Lieutenant Adams says he wants to make a deal. There's an athletic competition, and if Zack's team wins, he can quit with no detention. He'll even let Zack pick the teams. Zack senses nothing suspicious about this man suddenly being nice and agrees to his trap. Zack puts all the nerds and weaklings together on Slater's red team, then picks all the jocks and able-bodied babes for his blue team. Slater says that's unfair, but Zack promises the teams are balanced. The lieutenant says Zack is now on the red team and Slater is on the blue team, and it shouldn't matter because the teams are balanced. And this was obviously a trap, you dingus. Slater's team is killing it, thriving with a real leader. Zack's shit is a disaster. The team he built to fail is doing just that, and he's yelling at cadets who are only there because of his lies. Zack's team struggles with the first obstacle of the day, which is all it takes for him to loudly call them losers and storm off like a pouty bitch. Screech pleads with Zack to come back, but Zack says he doesn't want to waste any of his precious beanbag chair magazine time. Screech reminds Zack he's the only reason any of them enlisted. Zack says he lied, so what, and scolds his friend for trusting him. Screech says he used to look up to Zack, but not anymore, hitting Zack the only place he feels it, his fragile blonde ego. Zack returns, not dressed to compete, and says he's ready to compete. He begs to re-enlist because he can't stand being made to feel like less than Screech. Lieutenant Adams says it's up to his teammates. Zack says he's sorry for calling them losers, and he wants back in. They say yes, because the team he designed to lose needs him to win, and they have a deep insecurity about losing, since he yelled they were losers just one day ago. The games are going great. Who cares? Zack's only win is during American Gladiator combat when he distracts his opponent to sucker punch him. It's all tied up. Each team has to pick one member to run the final obstacle course. But instead of taking that responsibility to make up for the many events he skipped, Zack puts the burden on Screech's shoulders. And Screech wins and gets the girl, no thanks to Zack. Lieutenant Adams says he guesses this is goodbye. Zack says it isn't, because he's not a quitter. Except he certainly is, because we never see Zack in Cadet Corps ever again. And who knows what happened to Lieutenant Adams? He probably fucking killed himself. Let's review. Zack Morris disrespected a soldier visiting his school, and instead of accepting his punishment, took a deal where he had to convince students to join the army, which he only accomplished through lies and manipulation, and quit after day 1 when he had to do push-ups for his insubordination. Then was given a second chance that he used to cheat his way onto a winning team. And when the team he built to lose started losing, abandoned everyone, then only returned to repair his damaged ego, and only won a single event because of a sucker punch. And when the pressure was on to win it all, he stepped away like a coward, and didn't learn anything from any of it, because he quit one last time right after saying he's not a quitter. Zack Morris is trash.
Zack Morris is trash.
Bro. Like,
Zack
seriously.
Morris is trash.
This man has got problems.
Zack
Holy-
Morris.
Stop.
What?
Stop. Okay, there we go.
I just saw the next title. I said, what? I don't remember. I don't
wait a
remember
minute.
this next
I
one at
didn't
all.
pass it yet. Let me go
You're-
back.
I'm sure it'll come back to me, but I'm not,
Zack Morris.
Yo. No.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh my god, that's a terrible title. All right. I think I kind of remember this, but this sounds bad.
This is trash.
Zack's reading Making Money magazine. He says the greedy monsters in here are just like him. Big ideas for big money. Zack sees he can get a 900 number, a small idea, and charge $2 a call. Small money. He just needs a gimmick. Jesse's reading letters to a Dear Donna advice column. Lisa always gives the same sound advice as Dear Donna. Zack hears his friend has a natural ability to help others and gets a great idea to exploit her gift for cash.
Of course.
Kelly shows up with her little sister Nikki. Zack asks how the cutest pitcher in 7th grade is, then unnecessarily puts his arm around her, then says she's not just cute, she's smart too. And
Ooh.
adds,
I love this kid.
Zack's gratuitous affection sends her impressionable young mind to a fantastical hip-hop Cinderella story where Zack has the flow of a drain clogged with rat pubes.
Before I go, won't you try on the shoe? Because you never know, it might fit you!
Screech wonders
Wow,
how much
that
they're
was
going to
bad.
make with this team. Zack breaks out his tiniest calculator and announces they're filthy rich, despite the fact that that screen can only display a maximum of 5 digits. Lisa interrupts Zack's premature intro celebration. Zack tells her about the team line, and Lisa, who has learned from working with Zack in the past, immediately wants to know about the money. Zack chides her for thinking about dollars at a time when helping peers should be top of mind. Lisa tells Zack to cut the bullshit and give her half of everything. Zack says fine, but no more giving aid for free, and don't say nothing about teen line to nobody. The teen line is going okay. Zack, Nitro
Team Line, this is Nitro.
is giving Lisa's
Nitro.
advice wrapped in his very dumb accent.
How about you watch a little Lady of Love poem?
Kelly's sister calls and
So
says she
bad.
really likes a guy, but he's taken. Nitro asks how he feels about her. Nikki says the guy says he loves her. Zack hears nothing familiar about this story he's a central character in and tells Nikki to go for it
Wow.
with the guy who has a girlfriend because,
All's fair in true love and war.
which isn't even the right quote, but whatever. Nikki arrives the next day looking like an online predator sting operation and tells Zack she wants to be his girlfriend. Zack sees no issue with the fact that she's 13, but mentions Kelly as a potential obstacle. Nikki regurgitates Zack's inaccurate quote about romance, and he finally connects these very large dots. Zack says Nikki must have received advice from a moron, accurate, and tells her to beat it before Kelly shows up. Nikki says she'll go, but not before she gets a goodbye kiss. Zack shoves her tiny ass in her
Wow.
pocket. Kelly says Nikki has her
Dang.
first crush, but she won't say who it is. Zack says
I do
he's
remember
probably
this.
a great guy, while imprisoning a young girl in a small dark
starting
metal
to.
box. Nikki says she won't leave until Zack gives her a kiss. So instead of walking away from this 90-pound child,
No.
Zack kisses
No.
her and embraces her where everyone in school can see. Screech says
Uh-oh.
T-Line is a hit because Lisa solved everyone's problems. No problems means no call, so Zack fires Lisa for doing her job, then tries to get out of paying her, which he only begrudgingly agrees to do under the threat of blackmail as Lisa is forced to stoop to his level. Zack gets the bright idea to start giving bad advice, so students
Wow.
will be unhappy,
Yeah.
then call in for more
Now I
advice,
remember
creating an
this.
infinite loop of income mined from misery. His first victim, telling his friend Slater to break up with his other friend, Jesse. Jesse's in the middle of explaining to Kelly that Zack is really kissing her little sister at school when Slater walks in and breaks up with her. Jesse runs
God
off
dang.
to cry, and Zack yells at her to call Teen Line, then scans the room for more lives to ruin. He sees the recipient of that jock's poem and tells her it's plagiarized. Another happy future bites the dust.
Wow.
Kelly calls Teen Line and says she thinks her boyfriend is dating her kid sister. But instead of coming clean, Zack calls Lisa, the person he wrongfully terminated, to beg for advice in this glaringly simple
Oh my
dilemma.
God.
Lisa shrewdly demands the rest of Zack's depression dough, then says be honest with Kelly and let Nikki off gently. Fucking duh.
Durr.
Zack thinks he's talking to Nikki because phones are hard and tells Kelly it sounds like this dude is into her sister and she should be with someone else. Click, bitch. Then drops his lame accent to tell Nikki
I'm the one running the Teen Line, and you're the
Wow.
only Kapowski I care about. But don't tell your sister. You should let her down gently.
Don't worry, Zach. I won't tell Kelly.
whoops, bitch. Meanwhile, in her
Whoops,
class,
bitch.
everyone is fighting because Zack instigated a school-wide gender war with his malicious and predatory 900 number. Belding brings this hormone hurricane to his office, where they all realize they got conflicting advice from Teen Line. Belding deduces Zack and Screech, the only unscathed students in the room, are culpable for this debacle and tells them they have until tomorrow to make it right. Zack wants Lisa to fix his many messes, starting with the young girl he's told to
Really?
hook up with him twice. Lisa says he needs to convince Nikki he's gross. Should be easy enough, which gives Zack another great idea. Then Lisa starts undoing Zack's long trail of misguidance, student by student, wasting valuable time and
Lisa.
energy these youths should be spending on anything else in the prime of their lives. Lisa sees Kelly's depressed after being told off over the phone by a man with a bad accent and tells her to come to the Max and hide out in that booth in a very inconspicuous outfit. Zack arranges a date with Nikki where he performs a nerd
Yo.
minstrel show. He introduces Nikki to his pet spider, Leonard. She's into it. He acts like a messy dork and she's down. He invites her to the insect rodeo and she already has front row seats.
Damn.
Because Kapowski women are apparently the most amazing women on earth.
Seriously.
Zack comes clean and he's actually in love with Kelly. Nikki realizes Zack did all this to push her away and shames him for being a dork. A real dork, because he couldn't tell a 13-year-old girl the truth. And a mentally battered Kelly picks up the scraps Nikki was smart enough to leave behind. And Nikki, heartbroken her older sister has been brainwashed
Oh,
by
God,
this
no.
bozo, is never seen again because she probably fucking killed herself.
Killed herself.
Let's review. Zack Morris saw his friend's ability to help others as a way to get rich quick. And after leading his girlfriend's little sister on, told her to hook up with a guy who has a girlfriend, which is bad already, but even worse because he was talking about himself. Then when she acted on his advice, he shoved her in a locker to keep it a secret from her sister. Then became physically intimate with her in public, leading her on more. Then fired the only good thing about his Teen Line and started giving deliberately bad advice to make the whole school miserable for his financial gain. Then told his girlfriend to get lost and told her little sister to hook up with him again. Then used the person he fired to clean up his mess and still didn't have the minuscule amount of decency and courage required to be honest with a 13-year-old girl until it was his absolute last resort. Zack Morris is trash.
Zack Morris
God
is trash.
damn, my guy.
That's a lot.
watching these videos now is like Zack Morris is Lauren Armstrong.
Oh wow! I have not delved into TCAP for a minute. I've had a lot of life going on. You brought me back. I'm like, oh, Lauren Armstrong. You know, I should catch up. I don't even have any idea what's going on in that world right now, but it's always a good
The
laugh.
universe is crazy.
It is.
Definitely. The time Zach Morris valued a red jacket more than 4 human lives.
Oh, I'm gonna have to watch a little bit. I don't know. Was it like a member? Not a members only, but okay, we'll watch. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Zack Morris is trash.
Rick and Trevor from the Rigmas tell Zach only the coolest
Oh.
kids get invited
Oh.
to wear a red Rigma jacket, but apparently they're willing to
Okay.
overlook that because they ask Zach if he wants to pledge. Zach jumps at the opportunity to prove himself worthy of joining a fake middle school.
Well, this is
fraternity.
baby
The
Zach.
Rigmas promptly
Yeah, I was
begin
about to say, it's like
demonizing
Good Morning,
Zach,
Miss
making him
Bliss or
dress like a
something.
bozo and sing show tunes in class. Zach is tiptoeing around school, hiding like a coward from the
Yeah,
people he's
this is
allowing to
Good Morning,
torment,
Miss Bliss.
and obeys like a dog when they
Yeah.
order him to do jumping
Lauren
jacks for his
Armstrong is
peers. Mikey
trash.
questions this nonsense, but Zach says it's all worth it for a dumb jacket. The Rigmas make Zach wear a bathing suit to class, dangerously close to having his balls slip out in geometry. All worth it for the jacket. Rick and Trevor dangle the jacket in front of Zach, but say before
So
he
this
can
is
wear
like
it,
a
he needs to
sorority,
ditch
I
those
guess, huh?
losers he calls friends. Zach approaches his day
I
one
guess
pals
so,
and
in
says
high
Or like a
he's sorry for what
T-Birds or
he's about to
something,
do,
you know,
but he
kinda,
has
you know.
to do it for the jacket. Zach loudly exposes Mikey's secret crush.
Yeah.
Unforgivable.
gang shit.
Rick and Trevor
Oh,
approve,
Mikey.
and tells Lisa he's going to call her parents to snitch on her for wearing makeup at school.
God damn.
I remember this now. I remember this now. They make up at school.
Then shoves
Yeah.
a piece of cake in Nikki's face. Zero
Oh.
creativity there. When Screech says he thought they were friends, Zach says he would never be friends with a nothing like Screech. This child has no soul. Zach's abhorrent malice is rewarded with a jacket from 2 assholes that's worth about as much as a nickel covered in bird shit. Zach strolls into class and tries to act like it's all good, but it's not all good. It's all bad because he publicly humiliated everyone, and his former
Seriously.
friends rightfully shun this backstabbing Judas. Zach tells them to relax because now that he's a Rigma, they can all be friends again on weekends and stuff. Terms and conditions apply. The gang doesn't want Zach's friendship leftovers and toss his red jacket around until he cries like a weenie, which happens right away. Miss Bliss gets caught up to speed. Zach assaulted a student with pie, ruined Mikey's life, and really called Lisa's parents at home to leave a message about her makeup. Zach says
For
the only
real?
reason they're all here is because these losers threw his jacket around, a defense that ignores several crucial details. When Miss Bliss asks if these allegations are true, Zach says absolutely not, because he just hit Nikki with a piece of pie, not a whole pie. The
Oh,
other
God.
partially accurate response that once again omits many pertinent facts. Zach says they're all just jealous of his sweet jacket. More lies. Miss Bliss says this red jacket just cost him 4 friends. Zach tells the gang he's given it some thought, and he's choosing them over the jacket. But they don't want anything to do with him, because he really needed someone else to explain that a jacket is worth less than 4 people. So Zach immediately turns his back on them again to go sit with the Rigmas. Rick and Trevor have one more surprise for Zach. In order for them to get into the Rigmas, they had to find a gullible sucker and make him believe he was pledging, then get him to do a bunch of horrible stuff. Zach
no.
wants to know where they could ever find someone so idiotic. Hey, dum-dum, they're talking about your
Damn.
ass. The gang comes over to make sure Zach understands how much it sucks to be humiliated over a jacket, then graciously take him back. Because unlike Zach, they're not total buttholes and can think for themselves to assess the situation. But before Zach throws that jacket in the garbage, where he should put his entire body, he gets approval from the gang because he remains incapable of independent thought. Let's review. Zach Morris wanted to join a middle school pseudo fraternity
Wow, that's
just
like
to
crazy.
get the
Middle
jacket.
school.
And to get that jacket, was willing to humiliate himself all over school. Then to earn the approval of people who have done nothing but torture him, brutally destroyed the friendships he had with the people who actually care about him. Then tried to act like nothing happened and completely ignored any role he had in this situation. And when he said he had a change of heart, but his victims were understandably still upset, he changed his heart again and went right back to his abusers and found out the shocking news that they had bad intentions this whole time. And all the despicable things he did for that red jacket were pointless, which was always the case because it was just a stupid red jacket, which he really valued more than the dignity of 4 human beings. 5 if you include Zach, which I certainly don't. Let's call it 4. Zack Morris is trash.
Zack Morris is trash.
They really played it. They played his ass so bad.
That's
That was
crazy.
great. I mean, it's not good what he did to his friends, but it's so good.
No,
he tried
that it got
again.
his comeuppance, yeah. Well, kinda, because they forgave him, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but still, at least for once, he got humiliated.
He got humiliated. I agree. Usually he just comes out on top. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I hope that there's more humiliation ones because that was just.
I'm
that was
absolutely
good.
sure.
That was really good. I hope so. All right, the next one.
What?
The time. Wow. And we're going back to Lauren Armstrong shit again.
Is it when they were learned like this female teacher who was telling them about like eat cake or something? I don't know. It might not be eat cake, but it was subliminal messages. Of course it was. It just
Yeah.
says that, but I remember it.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember it. Okay, yeah, I'm excited about this one.
Zack Morris is trash.
It's gonna be good.
It's the annual Bayside
Or
Sweetheart
bad.
Dance. Slater's giving his heart to Kelly when Zack rudely interrupts to help this woman make up her mind. Slater says Zack probably can't even go because he's in trouble for vandalizing the pool and using a teacher's toupee as an eraser. And Belding's meeting
the
tomorrow
hell?
with his mom to talk about how disappointed she must be in her failure of a son. Lisa and Kelly are loving the new tape from Beau Revere. Mr. Belding says he prefers the sounds of the Beach Boys. Zack says he loves the Beach Boys in a pathetic and unsuccessful attempt to suck up to avoid tomorrow's meeting. Miss Wentworth is receiving various gifts from kind students and also Zack. She says they'll be learning about subliminal ads with hidden messages. Movie theaters use them to trick patrons into buying snacks. Zack says that would
Okay,
never
I'm
work
kinda-
on his
I'm kinda
feeble
on
mind,
par.
Except it would, because it did. Yesterday, Miss Wentworth played a tape for the class with a concealed vocal track instructing them to bring her all these goodies. She warned
Oh,
subliminal
damn.
advertising is unpredictable and should be used with extreme caution. Words Zack ignores with no delay. He wants to give Belding a Beach Boys tape with hidden messages to get out of that meeting with his mom. Screech rightfully questions Zack's proposal, so Zack calls him an idiot and punches him. He records
Wow.
a tape. saying,
Zack Morris is a good kid.
lies,
Zack Morris is a great student.
more lies,
Lies.
Zack Morris is a fine human being.
the most lies,
Zack Morris is the son I never had.
the truth. Thank God.
Yeah.
Zack gives Belding his surf rock propaganda and says it's a new enhanced recording. Belding says thanks, but he's still in trouble. Kelly accepts the invite of a suitor who isn't a juvenile delinquent. Belding is bumping
Nice.
Zack's brainwash tape when he walks in for his mom meeting, minus his mom, because he told her not to come. Belding doesn't care because Zack Morris is a good kid.
Wow.
And despite his
the
vandalism,
son he's
a
never
fine human
had.
being. And despite his failing grades, a great student. Then
Don't.
Belding says he's the son he never had, and gives him some of his hard-earned salary to have fun at the dance.
the
Zack gets a
fuck
great idea
outta
to use
here.
this wildly immoral machination on girls. Zack begins playing brain surgeon by
Oh,
having
no.
Screech distribute tapes to nerds so they can
Meow.
get their dream girls. It works like a charm, and 3 young ladies are helplessly duped into romantic relationships and probably their first sexual experiences against their will. Then Zack sends Screech to the female locker room in disguise.
I remember
as
this.
alias Barbara Bush. Screech swaps
Yes,
their Beau
Barbara
Revere tape
Bush.
and is once again forced to hide in a locker for one of Zack's schemes. Kelly tells Zack she does not want to go to the dance with Slater, then begs Zack to take her. Then callously rips off Slater's heart in front of everyone. Lisa finds Screech in yet another locker for some reason and pleads with the guy she's been endlessly avoiding to be her date. Jesse's listening to Kelly's Beau Revere tape and tells Max she has a date for the dance, but suddenly wants to go with Zack because Zack's the kind of guy every girl dreams of. Plus a bunch of other dumb crap. Lisa tells Jesse the thrilling news that Screech says he'll go to the dance with her. But when Jesse raises concern, Lisa says she's just jealous. Kelly says she dumped Slater to go with Zack because Zack's the kind of guy every girl dreams of.
Oh.
Then repeats all that dumb crap in unison with Jesse. They realize something is
Yeah,
very
that's
wrong
creepy.
because they both had nice dates and now they're fighting over a blonde. They look around at Zack's museum of manipulation and say it's like the school has been brainwashed. They figure out Zack must have abused their lesson on movie candy to psychologically influence girls using their tapes. Then recognize that locker room stranger was his accomplice, Screech, after being forced to picture him naked. The girls listen to the isolated vocal track and hear,
Zack Morris is a blonde Tom Cruise.
among other
Really?
disturbing falsehoods. They devise a plan to stop Zack before he escalates his tapes to ploys that will likely soon include robbery and murder. Principal Belding announces they're going to start playing a song a day for funsies. And today is this tape from Kelly Kapowski's personal collection. It starts with Jesse, and soon every woman in earshot, including Miss Wentworth, is aggressively coming
Ooh.
on to Zack. He does nothing to try and
Ooh.
snap them out of it. They swarm him in the hall like zombies. Even Slater gets in on the fun. Zack runs like a Zack bursts into Belding's office and demands he turn the music off. Then finally tells him the truth out of fear of being mobbed to death. Mr. Belding says Zack looks like a blonde Tom Cruise. Zack whines at everyone. Stop loving me. They explain the tape that's playing has no secret message, and this was all an elaborate setup. A setup that prevented everyone in school from getting an education that day to end his reign of mental tyranny. Let's review.
Wow.
Zack Morris learned that hidden messages are effective and dangerous, and immediately used that information to brainwash his way out of trouble, while for some reason also making a grown man love him as if he was his son. Then set out to manipulate young women, using nerds and mentally paralyzed girls as his guinea pigs. Then made a guy invade a female changing room to trick 2 of his best friends into unwanted physical intimacy, while sabotaging a blossoming relationship. And pushed an entire high school to stop everything in an urgent attempt to curtail his sociopathic, evil villain zeal for mind control that should have had him in prison for life then and there.
Zack Morris is a
It's
blonde,
a blonde
Tom
Tom
Cruise.
Cruise.
Nope. Zack Morris is trash.
Zack Morris is
Wow.
trash.
That's good.
No, they're right. That alone, Zach Morris should have been in jail.
That's
He
crazy.
should have been in jail for that.
That's wild.
Ooh, okay. This next one is going to be terrible. The time Zach Morris got his best friend scheduled for a dissertation by the government. The section, this the section by the government. Yeah.
Hey,
This is gonna be-
Ricky, I'm
this
probably
is gonna
gonna
be
do
bad.
one or two more, and then I'm gonna have to go ahead and go because I have to go do some errands before I get my son from school. But
Not a
that's cool.
problem,
But
honey.
keep rolling
Yeah.
if you want. I'll listen. I'm in my car, but I'm gonna have to go.
Definitely.
But yeah,
Okay. All right, then I'll leave this one. I'll play two more, and then we'll stop it there.
sounds good to me.
Alrighty.
All right, I'm ready.
Zack Morris is trash.
Zack Morris is the writer-director of a bad student film. He's abusing his power and harassing his crew for fun. Slater politely thanks Belding for the new school camera. He tells them to be careful because it took 2 years to save up for it.
Damn.
Zack lies and says it's in good hands. Zack's Alien Invader C movie is hot garbage. Atrocious writing, laughable costumes. Not even Kelly can save it. Zack has no control over his actors, and Screech chips a tooth ad-libbing. Zack throws a hissy fit, unprofessional, and breaks the camera he swore he'd protect. Jessie is furious. She's student president, and a broken camera on her watch will shatter her reputation. Kelly suggests buying a replacement, but the gang is $1,100 short. Zack says they should do the responsible thing here and blame Jessie. Screech is reading a tabloid about a man getting abducted by bees. Zack says this shady paper will pay $1,500 for a picture of an alien, enough for a new camera. This gives Zack a great idea. Jessie's wearing a disguise at school in anticipation of Zack framing her for property destruction. Zack blows her cover. Belding wants to know where the camera is. Zack pulls a new one out of his ass, bag, ass. Slater can't believe the tabloid bought Screech as an alien. A man in a cheap jacket says he has some questions for Zack. Zack says he must be from the newspaper. Yeah, sure, newspaper. He says if Zack can arrange a meeting with an alien, he'll pay $10,000. This gives Zack a greed boner. Zack wants a moment of privacy to discuss his greedy erection. Jessie says they already got lucky once. Why push it? Kelly says he'll never believe Screech is an alien. Zack says this rube will believe anything, then tells the sucker to get the money ready because the alien meeting is on. Lieutenant Thompson reports back to base. Screech got his tooth filled, and now his skull picks up radio stations. It's fun for a second, then never-ending misery. Zack tells Screech to go along with his intergalactic fraud, tempting him with all the life-changing things he can do with his share of the loot, a grand total of $1,600. Lieutenant Thompson tells Belding he's undercover from the Air Force, investigating an alien seen by Zack Morris. Belding laughs, but still leaves him with Zack's huge file to cooperate. Screech comes in to drop off his dentist note. The lieutenant hears strange noises coming from his mouth and interrogates him, causing Screech to run for his life. Screech is nervous, but Zack tells him to relax. What could possibly go wrong, tricking a stranger who showed no ID, offering 5-figure cash to meet an alien? Then Zack has everybody's favorite magic waiter do some out-of-this-world tricks. Just kidding, they suck. Zack says this bad magic is a good start, but they need more bad magic. Harry Houdiner has some ideas. Zack breaks into school to put on a stupid magic show that's mostly just fog and Screech in his bad costume. Mr. Thompson's buying it until Screech's cheap getup falls apart. He hears the radio coming from Screech's mouth, recognizes him, and the jig is up. Mr. Thompson wants to know who these kids think they're fooling. Screech says he's not a kid. He's Zorch, then rips off his face mask to reveal an alien mask. Mr. Thompson says he knew he was actually an alien this whole time, while Zack smugly celebrates behind his back. He says once they get Zorch back to Washington, everyone's getting a medal. But when Zack mentions that 10 grand, he says we'll see. That's up to Uncle Sam. Because Mr. Thompson is in the Air Force, and he's taking this creature in for immediate dissection. Screech runs for his life for the second time that day. Screech is up late typing his will. Zack tells him to keep it down. And he'll have this whole dissection thing straightened out by tomorrow, probably, once he squares away those 10 G's. Screech says his prayers before bed, visibly annoying Zack as he talks to God about dying. Mr. Belding thinks the idea that Screech is an alien is preposterous. Mr. Thompson says Belding is just covering, and unless he wants to mess with the government, he better produce that alien by 3 o'clock. Belding is anxious, but Zack assures him this plan to save his friend's life is solid. Screech emerges from the locker Zack stuffed him in. Mr. Thompson says he's not falling for Screech's human mask again. Then Zack has everyone in school spook Mr. Thompson with very bad Screech masks to say they're all aliens. A plan that makes zero sense, because these masks look fake as hell, and Zack and Belding put theirs on in front of Mr. Thompson, and all they had to do was have Screech show Mr. Thompson the alien mask, which he does, which gets rid of him right away. So seriously, what the fuck was the point of all those masks? Zack says Mr. Thompson will be back in a minute because he pickpocketed his car keys in case his 0 cents mask plan failed. Only Mr. Thompson doesn't come back. We never see him ever again because the shame of returning to DC after being duped by a teenage sociopath psychopath was too much to handle, and he probably fucking killed himself.
himself.
Let's review. Zack Morris lost control of his terrible student film, breaking a valuable piece of school equipment and forcing his friend to get oral surgery that put radio waves in his brain. Then sold a picture of that friend as an alien to buy a replacement camera. Then believed a man in a cheap jacket really had $10,000 to spend on an ET meet and greet. And, relying on magic tricks from a cheeseburger waiter, attempted to trick him with a mask on top of the mask, which bought his friend a one-way ticket to a government dissection table. And instead of coming clean right away, he needed a night to think about a way to maybe still get that $10,000 while his friend was grappling with dying. Then got the principal implicated in his government deception, along with the entire student body, with a plan that made absolutely zero sense when his best friend's life was on the line. Zack Morris is trash.
Zack
Wow.
Morris is trash.
Such a terrible person.
No
Every
joke.
single time he's either getting his friends like hurt or almost killed.
Yeah, and some
Every single time.
stupid ass shit.
All right, I counted up the videos since there's 40 and we just finished 10. I'm gonna stop it right here,
Okay.
and we can come back to it at another time. Would you like to say anything to the people out there?
I would just like to say that it's fun to join y'all again. I've missed y'all very much. I think about y'all all the time and all their fun memories, and I am happy you had me on today. This is a fun little thing to do. I'm really happy to be here. That's and I love y'all.
Well,
I don't know.
thank you very much for coming on. We really did. We really miss you. We all miss you.
Oh, well, thanks. I miss y'all too.
It's great. It's great to have you on again.
So thank you. I might not be back in crazy form, but I'll definitely come finish out Zack Morris's trash with y'all.
Oh, definitely. Just let me know.
For sure, for sure. All right. Well, I guess, are you gonna keep going, or no? We're gonna cut it off.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna cut it off. Say my goodbyes and play a song.
Sounds good. All right.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on and doing this with me, Vex.
Always, anytime.
For the rest of you guys, love you. Hope you're doing well. Hope your week goes great. Keep food in your fridge. It's not meant for condiments and batteries. You can at least keep some fruit cups in there. Something. Anything.
The fruit cup.
And as always, love, peace, and chicken grease. I'm out.
Yo, bad play.
Hey, I just went bought a watch with a whole lot of diamonds to show all these niggas it's my time. Took a trip out to Cali to hang with the clips, make a play and get high off that Zaza. I say R.I.P. Kobe, a nigga so fly when I ball out, fuck around skydive. So much chicken on me, coulda went by the Williams, the Rudy's, a big ass Popeye. In a whole different bracket, this life is immaculate. If you hit me for both, then you know that I'm taxing. Keep buying cause that shit still in the packages. If he say that he robbed me, he capping me. Really no niggas throw sevens like Kaepernick. You not blind and you see that we have it. Known in my city, so no I'm not average. Came a long way from dope in the can. Niggas know that I still in the game that I rep. Went to Solomon, I shot the 10 for 600 on all our net. Paid it full like Mitch. Really having this shit. Got out that stuff, started rapping, and 6 months later I'm rich. Nigga know I'm a stepper, I step with some elegance. All these niggas I'm with is some fellas, a strap with a post, so I hope that you hesitant. If they spin, make them wish that they never spin. Most of these niggas is hoes, they be telling me. Man, I'm finna take over, I'm stamping. How you bang this shit, they selling ain't ripping shit. Left your dog in that rain and ain't help with it. How is you solid, you ain't never dealt with it. You see me, I come different, I'm blessed with it. We ain't got the rollie, it go with my necklace. 30 for both, you could die if you mess with it. Can't do the show if it don't gotta check with it. These niggas popo, I swear they irrelevant. Hating like I don't know, that's really jealous. Knowing they mad that they no longer live. Niggas know that I still in the game that I rep. Went to Solomon, I shot the 10 for 600 on all our net. Paid it full like Mitch. Really having this shit. Got out that stuff, started rapping, and 6 months later I'm rich.